One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer. Despite having vastly different characters and stories, these three shows have a common trait that ties them all together. So what exactly is it? Well, as you probably guessed from the title of the video, these three series are what is considered as shonen anime. You've probably heard the word shonen being tossed around if you've been in the anime and manga community long enough, and if you haven't, these series are typically the first shows newcomers that get into the scene watch anyways. But despite the shonen genre having a wide range of series under its umbrella, the term still seems to be heavily mistaken within the community. You see, a genre tells us what the show is about. The thriller genre provides us with suspenseful, heart-racing moments, while romance provides us with romantic relationships between characters. On the other hand, shonen provides us with none of that. It literally does not tell you what a series is about. So what exactly is shonen, and why has it been coined a term within the community? Well, strap on your seatbelts, cause in this video, we're gonna take a look at the ever-changing landscape that is shonen. Shonen does not equal bad writing. Okay, I feel like I have to clear up a common misconception that's been bugging me every time it's brought up. But ever since series like Black Clover and Fairy Tail have been released, there's been this ongoing thought that shonen equals bad writing. What most people critique about these series is its bland writing and cliche tropes. And while you can make a case for these shows, it does not mean that these shows are synonymous with the shonen tag. You see, shonen actually has a wide variety of shows. Taking a look at the current serialization of Shonen Jump, there's all sorts of new series popping in and out of the current landscape. But it wasn't always that way. To understand shonen, we must take a good old trip back to the 1980s and visit Fist of the North Star. Now I'm not going to bore you all with how Shonen Jump looked back in the 1980s because there's already a video talking about that. But to sum it up, shonen in the 1980s was basically me strong, me powerful, me smash. The main characters often look like they injected 10 pounds of PEDs on a daily basis, and the whole premise around every series was that they go around fucking bad guys up and never showing a sign of weakness. It's kinda like those overpowered isekais we have today, but instead of a wimpy kid, we have an Omega Chad. But remember, shonen itself isn't actually a set-in-stone genre. The definition of shonen is anything that is marketed towards a teenage audience. This is important because what the teenage audience wanted at that time was some badass shit that made them feel strong. So I guess back in the 1980s, you could have labeled shonen as meat-headed content with no actual development. But unlike other genres, shonen is constantly evolving, and as my buddy Kha'Zix would agree with me,
change is good.
You see, the unique thing about shonen is that it's targeted towards a teenage audience, and since the audience's tastes are constantly changing, with it shonen as well. We saw the first glimpse of this with the introduction of Dragon Ball. Instead of 500-pound guys running the street, we were introduced to a soft young teenager that the audience could relate to. However, the biggest change was yet to come, as in the early 2000s, the big three stormed onto the shonen catalogs and cemented a permanent shift in the shonen genre. I'm sure anyone who's watched this video has already heard of the big three, but bear with me for a second. One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, also known as the three biggest shonen anime and manga at the time, had a huge impact on what we perceive as shonen today. Everything you basically hear about shonen stereotypes today stems from what the big three had brought to the community. From the loud shouting, to the epic battle scenes, to the slapstick humor, the comical, lighthearted main character was presented to us as someone we could all relate to. They were someone who would undergo developments, but always held on to their own beliefs. Take Luffy and Naruto for example. Luffy's entire embodiment of his character is being free. He is someone with good morals and will look at you as a holistic individual rather than what others think of you. Throughout the entire story, we see Luffy constantly help other people and develop the entire cast alongside him. Similar with Naruto, he is a kind, hardworking, and warm character who wishes that everyone can live a happy life. This means that everyone, through interactions with Naruto, changes for the better. However, while both characters undergo many different obstacles and situations, never once does their own ideology ever change. Naruto and Luffy still have the same ideals since chapter 1 compared to where they are now. Both characters are kinda meant to be the forefront of the story, someone who is strong-willed that we can all look up to and strive to become. They are literally carrying the story, progressing through their journey, affecting and changing the lives and ideology of other people, but never themselves. Luffy and Naruto are the story, and everything else is built around them. Basically, to summarize, shonen in the early 2000s were mainly seen as long-running shows with relatable main characters that we could all look up to. Likewise, while I personally think that both One Piece and Naruto utilizes their MCs to an amazing potential, this can also bring up a double-edged sword. You see, the slack that most shonen series get is because of the one-dimensional way of thinking. You know, the common stereotypes about shonen shows having a shallow MC that is constantly brain-dead screaming. First season of Black Clover. The problem that most viewers have today with 2010 shonen is its lack of realism. You see, not everything is as cut and dry as how they portray in these shows. Sometimes there's not one clear way of thinking. Sometimes there's conflicting opinions, and sometimes the main character should be wrong. But even so, compared to the early 1980s of shonen, long-running shows in the 2000s have been way more in-depth and developed. As anime viewers grew up, the audience started to evolve and wanted something more than just a one-dimensional main character. They wanted more development, more thoughtful writing, and less one-dimensional thinking. However, that's not to say that these shows aren't good as well. As seen with shows like One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, these series can evolve into a one-of-a-kind show. What I mean by this is that the audience evolved into wanting a more realistic show, something more of a seinen-esque caliber. For anyone who doesn't know what seinen is, it's basically shows that are targeted towards an audience over 18. This means that in these series, the author can basically do whatever the fuck they want. They can explore mature themes and have fully fleshed out characters. I'll probably do another video taking a look at seinen as a whole, but for this video, all you need to know is that stories like Berserk, Monster, and Vinland Saga tend to employ realistic elements within the story to fully flesh out characters in a harsh, realistic world. This is where the thought that seinen equals good and shonen equals bad comes from. One genre allows for transformation while the other sticks in one spot. But remember, shonen is an ever-evolving genre and is reflected by what the audience wants. This brings me over to the new era of shonen and what I like to call the age where shonen has died. Enter Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. You see, shonen nowadays are as good as they've ever been. The writing in these new and upcoming series have been absolutely phenomenal and have been straying away from the typical one-dimensional stereotype. Let's take a look at JJK. When I first read the series, all I could think about is how it reflected what is thought to be of a typical seinen series. Remember when I said in earlier shonens that the main character goes around and changes the world and others around him? Well, in JJK and most seinens, it's the complete opposite. In these shows, the world changes the main character. To me, this is what realism is. We are not the forefront of the world, merely a participant affected by others around us. While it is nice to be the center of the world, we are not. Yuji is someone who has his ideologies constantly shattered by the cruel world around him. At the beginning of the story, Yuji wants everyone to die peacefully, but at the end of the first season, those thoughts change drastically. His naive thoughts are challenged and is constantly changed by the world around him. He is the one developed by the story and not the other way around. Compared to earlier shonens, Yuji is a minor piece in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, while Luffy is the forefront in the world of One Piece. This to me is what makes Yuji and most main characters in seinen shows so well written. They develop through experiences and come to see the nature of their actions. The world isn't black and white, and not all ideologies are set in stone. There is usually more than one way to look at a certain situation. This is why I label shonen in the early 20s the age where shonen has died. What was once labeled as a genre meant for teenage boys has expanded to an audience wider than ever. Long ago were the days where people would call shonen for kids. Instead, the shonen genre has now expanded to all sorts of demographics. While it is unclear how shonen will evolve in the future, as time goes on, people's tastes evolve, and with it, I fully believe that the line between shonen and seinen will be gone in the next couple of years. Like seriously, most people who got into anime and manga within the past couple of years because of shows like Demon Slayer and JJK aren't just young teens. We've seen an influx of adults, and as the teenage audience back in the early 2010s grows up, the demographic of anime fans has shifted to an older age. The epitome of Shonen's evolution comes with the new series Chainsaw Man that was released in December 2018. Looking through the first couple of chapters, if you told me that this was a manga targeted towards 12-year-olds, I would be questioning your sanity. There's gore literally on every panel, and Fujimoto seems to be killing off characters left and right. What marks a huge change in these new shonens is the talk about death. You see, in early shonens, death was seen as something that shouldn't be addressed in stories. Hell, throughout the entire 1000 chapters of One Piece, Luffy has yet to kill a single villain. Similar to Naruto, I don't think he's killed a single person either. While most of these series only showcase death as a sad scene to create emotion for the viewers, that isn't really representative of reality. Yeah, I know, scenes like Ace and Jiraiya's death have and will always be the most emotionally gripping, but the death of villains and even commoners is something that should be explored as well. While these series only tackle righteous emotional deaths, they try to stay away from anything too controversial and isn't really an accurate representation of reality. Take JJK for example. Instead of straying away from the topic, Yuji acknowledges that deaths are bound to happen, and even so, he will do his best to make sure that everyone lives peacefully. And emphasized even more in Chainsaw Man, Fujimoto literally gives zero fucks about trying to stay non-controversial. The amount of deaths within the first season of Chainsaw Man could equal the sum of deaths in all long-running shonens times 10. Like seriously, when you compare Chainsaw Man to what the definition of shonen is labeled as, I don't know how you can put 2 and 2 together. I don't want this video to go on too long, but since there's just so much to talk about, I'll just leave off on a note stating that shonen in its current state is not what it once was. If you think that tropes like the power of friendship is representative of shonen in the current age, then you're pretty damn wrong. The audience is growing wider, and with it, shonen as well. As an avid enjoyer of seinen manga, I am absolutely overjoyed with this shift in shonen. The writing has become more realistic and something that I as an older group can relate to. But that's not to say that 2010 shonen series have died either. One Piece is still going strong with the current Wano arc, and the latest chapters have been fucking fire. Likewise, shows with similar characters such as Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia have also exploded in popularity, providing numbers that we haven't seen before. With these shows as popular as ever, I doubt that these types of shonens will ever run out. Shonen is in an amazing spot right now with an awesome mix of one-dimensional characters fused with complex and seinen-like stories. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I'll probably do another video taking a look at how Demon Slayer exploded in popularity. But as promised in my previous video, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, my face reveal. You guys actually thought I was Musashi from Vagabond? This is my first time recording myself, so sorry if I'm a little bit awkward. As someone who's pretty introverted, talking to the camera feels pretty weird, so sorry if I'm a little bit awkward with this face reveal. But now that I think about it, whenever I see a big YouTuber do a face reveal, I always feel like I see people in the comments stating how the voice doesn't match the face. And I want to know with you guys, do you guys think that my voice also matches with my face? So yeah, this is Hyacinth, this is what I look like. For my next video, I think I might do a seinen analysis video similar to the shonen one that you saw this video, so be on the lookout for that. If you enjoyed the well-edited content, make sure to subscribe because these videos take a lot of time and I put a lot of effort into my videos to make sure that they're the highest quality possible. Anyways, I just want to thank you all for 1,500 subscribers. It means the world to me that 1,500 of you liked my content. And when I first started this channel, I just wanted to talk about anime and manga that I enjoyed, and to see it grow this big is something that means a lot to me. I appreciate all my subscribers, and if you enjoyed the well-edited videos, then make sure to subscribe and tell others about this channel. Telling your friends or other people about this channel is the best way to help me grow. So yeah, I guess that's all for the video. This is my face, and as always, this has been Hyacinth. Peace.